Let's do that. Thank you. All right. Our next speaker will be Chris Jones from the State Library of South Australia. So, Chris, could you please start sharing your slides? Here we go. Thanks, Chris.
Hi, everybody. You hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Chris. Please go ahead.
I'm speaking to you from South Australia, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of South Australia and recognise their continuing connection to country, culture and community. The State Library of South Australia is based on unceded Kaurna land, where we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So the State Library of South Australia has made significant progress in recent preservation efforts. Currently, SLSA has ingested 152 terabytes of preservation master object storage and 21 terabytes of access object storage into Preservica, totaling 173 terabytes of preservation and access audio-visual collection material. However, there's still approximately 126 terabytes of data awaiting migration to Preservica secure storage. Our primary focus has been to develop ingest and migration workflows for the most significant and complex file formats, particularly those related to oral history, video, and motion picture film collections. This initiative aims to reduce dependence on our Isilon storage system, which is approaching its end of life cycle. Additionally, SLSA has worked on metadata exchange between Sierra and Preservica, establishing a subset of Dublin Core as the minimum metadata schema and automating data remediation in Sierra. These efforts ensure the long-term accessibility, compliance, and integrity of SLA's digital collections. So I've cheated a bit here, and I've actually done a video because I wanted to do a live demo, but because of the nature of live demos of ingesting material, it was better suited to video. So I've been able to pause it rather than you watching FTP taking progress. So I'm just going to play a video which will run for about 7 minutes, and then we can do some Q&As at the end. So this is Jester. It's the ingest tool that we've developed with the State Library of South Australia for ingesting content into Preservica, our digital preservation system. So how you use it is you choose a folder that you want to ingest. So here's one I've prepared here, which is a PAX package. You can find out more about PAX and OPEX on the Preservica website. So there are tools within Jester to create PAX packages, and it automatically creates OPEX packages for each package that you ingest. So what this is doing behind the scenes is using the Droid command line tool to look inside the package and create fixes and default security tags, and to create the parent-child relationship between the files and the folders, which is useful once it's within Preservica to create the hierarchy. So I'm going to give it a name and create my manifest. The manifest is used throughout the ingest process then. It is possible to open it up and have a look at it in Notepad or Excel. So now I'm going to choose the media type. I'm interested in everything. So it's automatically created my archive number based on our naming convention. And I'm going to go and get that metadata from our library catalog. That's pulled that in. I'm going to create my metadata. And I'm going to go to ingest. I can create an OPEX package and hand it over to the background queue, which is what I would do the majority of the time. Or I can choose to do it interactively, which means you're going to wait while FTP kicks in and transfers files. So if I click the upload, it's then going to start ingesting packages onto the Preservica folder, and because it's OPEX, it will automatically get processed then on the server. Once the upload is complete, you can see I've got a green label there now informing me that it's complete. And the next thing you would do then is allow the Preservica time to automatically process that job, and then just check that your content went in okay. Within Jester, we also have the ability to be able to monitor what's happening in Preservica with regards to ingest and background tasks. And we can also monitor our local job queue, which creates the OPEX packages, and the same for the PAX queues. So that's useful. So theoretically, you don't need to log into Preservica to monitor progress of your ingests. Another useful tool within Jester is the ability to replace the metadata of items you've ingested. So how you do that is like we did earlier when we created a manifest, you just recreate a manifest, but rather than ingesting the content, this time you only browse to your metadata folder that was created earlier, and then you can find matches on the Preservica server. And you can see there it's found some matches, and I can choose an action whether I want to replace or delete, or if it didn't find a match at all. And then you can choose to apply the action, and that's your metadata patched. So this is how the ingested record looks like in Preservica. So we've got the basic metadata that we ingested with it, and then if we go to the advanced tab, we've got a preservation copy, which is the MXF, and then we've got an access copy, which is the MP4. And I've made a change to the security tag to make it public, which means that that will appear on our access portal. Once a file has been ingested, if it has a security tag of public, then it's automatically accessible on our on-site digital access kiosk. This discovery tool is currently under test, and we are planning on making it available to library staff to search for AV materials and download access copies. If I do a search for the zoo visit film I ingested earlier, you'll see I get a summary view of material that matches the keyword, and you can search using the file name, the archive number, the catalog number, title, or descriptive text. And if I click on the matching entry, I can get additional metadata that's being drawn directly from our catalog. I can watch the video. I can watch it full screen if I like. And because I'm logged in as a staff member, I can choose to download it. You can see now I have a copy of the MP4 available on my PC. Hi.
Chris, is that the end of your video?
Yes, that's sorry. Yeah, it's a bit abrupt the end. Yeah, that's the end. Yeah.
Thank you. There's already some questions appearing in the chat. Roxy has a question for you there. Do you want to have a look at that?
Yeah.
She said it looks quite simple for the end user, and I agree. And then says, is it limited to particular file formats? And what happens if there's a droid mismatch or error?
Yeah. Okay. So we've dealt with it on a format by format basis as we've been ingesting. So we've added to the supported formats as we've gone along. We did have a couple of instances where the format wasn't, or the period wasn't recognised in Droid. So that was a case of working with the National Archives to have that recognised. And then that then rolled into Preservica, and from there we were able to ingest that. Okay. We could also, there was nothing stopping us ingesting it, but it just, we wouldn't have the correct format, it'd be an unknown format type within Preservica because it wasn't known in Pronom.
Thanks, Chris. I've got another question for you too. Which teams are actually using the tool?
Well, we did have a position which was dedicated to ingesting, but that position's currently vacant, and it's also being used by our team leader of digital preservation, and Kimberly, and by our audio preservation team leader, with the potential that we could roll it out to other staff members, so as they could ingest content as it comes in, particularly archivists.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was wondering if that was kind of the end user you had in mind.
Yeah, so they do. They have it, and or some of the archivists have it, but they're not in the they haven't got a workflow established for it at the moment.
Yep. Oh, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Roxy. Has anyone else got any questions about this system? It does look really interesting. I'm not a technical expert, so I don't know how much I could comment on it. But I was interested that you said how it was being tested in an on-site kiosk. But does that mean the output isn't available online remotely?
Yeah, so I think initially we're going to make it just available on site, with the first release being just for staff, so as they can access the access copies without having to do that through a Preservica administrator. So if somebody wanted an access copy, they can log into the access kiosk and then just download an access version of it. If somebody wanted an original, the MXF, which would be a larger file and a higher quality, they'd still do that through the preservation team.
See. And there's a question from Michael. Michael's asking, are there any plans to release Jester for use and adaptation by others?
Yeah, nobody's actually formally requested it, so we haven't made any moves to make it publicly available. But yeah, that would be one to discuss with the management.
Yeah, I was interested in that. I noticed that you had a security option. You could have a security tag to make something public.
Yeah,
Do you have any other security options? Because we've been talking to other people about particularly restricted material,
yeah.
sensitive,
So
culturally restricted material.
yeah, so we have done some prototyping around that with flagging content as being culturally sensitive, and then only accessible to the users that have that access to that data within Preservica. So it does work. We've tested it, but at the moment, because all of our material is inaccessible, then we haven't had to test that in the real world.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's something, because I know a lot of people are thinking about those issues with their systems. Oh, yes. Michael said that, I think in relation to his previous comment about plans to release it, that there might be folk in the Preservica user group who could be interested.
Yeah.
Okay, has anyone else got any thoughts or comments? That's a really interesting system. I noticed if you developed it in-house, is that any problems in relation to, long-term implementation of your system?
Well, I guess it may get to a point where the tools to ingest content into Preservica are more advanced, and we wouldn't be reliant on using their APIs. So it could get phased out. Certainly, at the time when we wrote this, because it's 4 years ago, there wasn't the ability to be able to replace metadata within Preservica, whereas now you can do that through spreadsheets. So, yeah, possibility that some of the functionality will be deprecated as functionality improves in Preservica.
But you still have development people working in-house who can keep working.
Yeah, so it's so the only maintenance that really occurs at the moment is .NET framework upgrades, and so they happen every 12 months, 2 years. So we'll just upgrade it to the latest .NET framework version, and it's a desktop application, so that does mean we have to make sure that the desktops have got the right .NET framework to be able to run it. Yeah, and behind the scenes, it's using Active Directory for security, so we've got it quite locked down.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Kimberly says that you've discussed it with the Australasian Preservica group. There's probably members of that here too, I imagine.
Yes, yeah, we did a demo there a couple of years ago.
Well, have we got any other questions or comments for Chris? Yes, there is one. Christopher Werner asks, have you done any load testing to measure the volume of files your instance can manage?
Yeah, we can do. Can you, Kimberly, if you could just put in the chat, Kimberly, the largest file that we've ingested. Yeah, it's in the many terabytes. Kimberly will be able to clarify what that is. But I think the largest video we've got, we can ingest through the tool. All it needs is enough storage space to be able to package it, and the rest of it is there's no restrictions. We worked with Preservica to ensure that enough resources were available on the server to handle the large ingests when we were ingesting really large packages. Yeah.